Hey you guys, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my December wrap-up. I really did not think I read that many books that month, so wasn't going to do a wrap-up. I was just going to lump it up with the January wrap-up and come back to it later. But I was going through the list of books I did read, and I read a total of 4 books, which in comparison to kind of with the holidays going on and like my schedule kind of being a little wacky, I think 4 is a fair number to have read. And I met my 2017 reading goals for the month, like my Goodreads reading goals. So here we are. But without further ado, let's just jump right in. The first book I read, sadly, was kind of not my favorite book I've read. I think it's one of the more disappointing reads of 2017 for me, and that is Winter Song by S.J. Jones. Now, for those of you who don't know, Winter Song is like a Hades and Persephone kind of retelling. Lysol's sister is kidnapped by the Goblin King, and she must travel to the underworld to save her. And I was hoping for a lot of good from this book. It's a Hades and Persephone retelling, and it's one of my favorite Greek myths ever, because Hades is such a pretty cool guy in general, and Persephone is like this amazing badass that you just love. But I felt that this one was the characters were really wishy-washy. Lysol ended up kind of complaining a lot and just kind of not knowing what she wanted, and it didn't change throughout the story to me. It did, but it didn't until the very last few pages, and even then it was just very wishy-washy. I didn't like her character. I couldn't feel her, I couldn't get a feel for her and her motives. I couldn't understand any of the characters' motivations very well. And it was just very disappointing to read, honestly. I felt that there could have been a lot more done with the characters in such a different kind of book, which is really sad to say because the writing is just really beautiful and poetic, and I loved the writing. It's just the characters that I couldn't get along with, and the plot sounded really interesting. Ugh. And if a lot of it followed some similar YA tropes that I'm not a fan of anymore, like the mysterious stranger that gets the protagonist falls in love with, or how she doesn't think she's beautiful, but this mysterious stranger thinks she is beautiful in her own way, and she just doesn't seem to understand it, or she doesn't think she's talented, but she's actually pretty talented. It was just something else, you guys. Ugh. But my rating is a 2 out of 5 stars, and I don't think I'll be continuing on with the series, which is very upsetting because I was really excited for this book. The next book on this list is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I thought this had a really good storyline. I thought the family dynamic was one of my favorite things to read about. They were just so close-knit, and I loved it so much. Sadly though, there was a weird non-existent love triangle. It was trying to be a love triangle, but it wasn't there. And you just knew that Laura Jean was already heading in one direction as the book progressed, but it didn't. And then there was some weird stereotypical tropes that I didn't enjoy, and I thought that could have been handled differently. She was very much a kind of easy-to-cry person, which isn't bad, but it just followed the very overly sensitive main character trope that I wasn't a fan of. But it was a really quick and easy read, and like I said, I liked the plot, I liked the family dynamic, and I'm really excited to pick up the second book. The next book on this list is one that I should have read a long time ago, but I'm really glad I left it off because the last book of the trilogy is coming out in December, which is a year from now, but I'm not really complaining because I need to rest from the emotional torment that was this book. And that is Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is the second book that I read this is the second book to the Dark Artifices series, and probably one of my more favorites. I have to agree with, I believe, Emma Books, who said this is probably her most mature and most well-written piece of writing in a long time, or out of all of her books. I definitely agree. I loved the characters so much. I fell in love with all of them every single second. My heart was torn out and stomped on. The characters were developing so beautifully. The ending has me completely wrecked. I need to find out what had happened. I need to know what is going on, why this had to happen. They deserved so much better, you guys. You'd have no idea. I had to reread the last few scenes repeatedly in hopes that it would change and these characters were like safe and happy and everything was going to be great, and it just didn't happen, and I just kept breaking my heart over and over again. It was so beautifully written. It was so, I can't get over it, but like Julian Blackthorne has my heart and soul, and so does like actually every single character in this book has my heart and soul, and I just can't get over it, you guys. Like, I just need more. And let's just talk about Diana. Like, I called it from the start when Cassie made the announcement that the character was going to be someone we knew. I called it, and I'm so happy for it. Like, you have no idea. And her relationship with Gwen, and I just need there to be a poly relationship between certain characters, and I can't, I'm flustered, you guys. Like, I can't get over this book. It was so good, and it's a 5 out of 5 stars for me, if that's not obvious, and I highly recommend you guys go ahead and pick up the series, and then we can talk about it more in the comments, and I can have someone to cry about this with, because none of my other friends have read it yet. The last book on this list is a middle grade novel, and I've already started reading the series, but that is Return to the Isle of the Lost by Melissa de la Cruz. This was the second book to the Descendants series and follows the situation shortly after the first movie. Yes, the first movie. So it's first book, first movie, second book, third book, second movie. But this, if you guys don't know, the series follows the villains from each Disney movie, and we follow 4 of them. Mal, who is the daughter from Maleficent, Evie, the daughter of the evil queen from Snow White, Jay, the son of Jafar, and Carlos, the son of Cruella de Vil. And it kind of follows their life from being thrown into the Isle of the Lost, where you can't do magic, you're stuck in a dome, to being in Auradon, where everything is basically like pretty and gold and sparkly and pastel. And it's just an interesting kind of way. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. It showed more of the villain kids' personalities, which I think got lost a little bit in the first one because you were so focused solely on Mal. We didn't get to, in the first movie, we didn't get to see the other characters kind of develop, and their development was a little stunted in my opinion with the first movie. We also got to see a lot of the gaps filled in between what had happened in the first movie and then all the way into the second movie, which is really nice. However, what I kind of dinged it on was it was very kiddish and corny dialogue sometimes. It didn't seem to fit the idea that these guys are like 16-year-olds and that they are villains and not these pretty pink princesses and perfect princes. And sometimes it was really jarring. I felt that it could have been written in a better way, because I felt like it was how they were talked down to their readers. And even though this is a middle grade novel and is meant for younger audiences, I feel like you should definitely have these characters speak in a more relatable sense, because she'd use big, more complicated words like askance, and then have some other thing that kind of ruined it for me. I forgot what it was, but it was just really jarring, and I didn't that was the only thing I had an issue with, honestly. But other than that, I ended up finishing the series in January, so I can't really talk about that until my January wrap-up. But that is it for my December 2017 wrap-up. Hopefully you guys, I didn't get a chance to read the other books that I had in there, my list, because I was like I said, it was just a really rough month with the finals going on, then the holidays. I'm just glad I read 4 books, you guys, let's face it. But if any of these books had piqued your interest in my TBR from December, and you kind of wanted to see more of, leave a comment down below. I'll also be leaving my Goodreads review for some of these books, and my review for To All the Boys I Loved Before. But until then, I will see you guys on Saturday. Bye.